Hey everyone, I hope you're ready for Mass Making Multiples episode number 2. In this one, we will be doing several projects and we will be focusing on some things that I put in my booth. If you want more information about the profits that I've made in my booth over the last several months, as well as total sales, cost, profit, big ticket items, and how I make the most money in my booth, stay till the end of this video. If you are not interested in that part, I hope that you enjoy the projects that we're mass making in the beginning of the video. They can be used as gifts or home decor in your home. Now let's get on into these mass makings. If you're a thrifter or a Dollar Tree hoarder, I know you have these in your stash, so go ahead and go grab all those round plates, all those glass vases, those things you've bought to use as cloches because we all love them. I've been collecting this stuff up to use for all kinds of projects, and today is the day we're going to make a mass making of these. Now, I could have done these all day, but I picked out a few, and I'm going to show you how I made them. I'm showing you a few different pieces here of things that I'm going to be using. These came from the Dollar Tree, they came from thrift stores, all kinds of places, quarter, 99 cents, $1. Really, really cheap items that we can put together and make beautiful, unique, one-of-a-kind gifts or things that we can sell and make a decent profit off of. Now, I'm just showing you some of the things here. These globes came from Dollar Tree. One of them did. One I got at a thrift store, even though it was from Dollar Tree. These little plates were like $1 a piece. And I'm just showing you how they will look on those little plates, or I'm just showing you how those globes from Dollar Tree or fish bowls. This is a vase from Dollar Tree. I've definitely seen these on Pinterest used as cloches. This is just a stemless wine glass from Dollar Tree. This is a glass plate from Dollar Tree and one of their vases. So $2, you could make that and then have a gorgeous gift. I'm going to show you what we're going to put in these. This is a marble plate from Dollar Tree with a cloche top that I picked up from a thrift store. That's a round frame. There's so many things you can use as bases for these. Wood rounds. I'm showing you that glass plate there as well. So many things that you can use for the bases of these. For feet, I'm going to show you how we use feet on these. Look at that. I love that with those little gold handles. So go through the things that you already have in your supplies, get them all out and put them on a table or whatever work surface. Go through them and see which ones look the best together and which is your favorite and get started. This first one we're going to start out with, I decided on this beautiful little kind of shabby, I don't know if this is French. It reminds me of French, and it has this beautiful gold trim on it. I did a shorts video. I hauled a bunch of these. They were like $1 to 75 cents a piece. So I have this little sewing machine that I painted white like a year ago, and it's been in my stash. And I really thought that I wanted to do something kind of shabby chic or granny chic. Oh gosh, you guys, I ended up making 2 of these and I could have made 3, but I had to limit because I really wanted to do kind of my favorite style, and you'll see that coming up after we do these 2. So what I thought was I wanted to add some gold to this little sewing machine to match the gold around the trim on this plate. So I grabbed out some rub and buff and just started rubbing some on with my finger until I got the look that I wanted. So for the top of this, or the glass portion of this close, I settled on one of the Dollar Tree kind of like fish bowls, and I'm going to be using several different glues in this video, and I'll explain why when I do. But the glue that I'm going to be using for this one is going to be the spray glue, or it's the crazy glue with the activator. I'll have that listed in the description box below. I thought these cute little beads would just look so pretty, kind of laying. I did the threes, but then I added this little floral piece that came off of some boho fabric onto the sewing machine, which made it 4 pieces, but it still looked good, I thought. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this sewing machine attached to this glass plate using that spray glue, or that crazy glue with the spray activator. Now I'm showing you the different types of glues that you can use to attach this machine to this glass plate, but I do land on that glue with the spray activator. Now this stuff is kind of strong, but it's not too much for my studio. It was, and it dissipates really quick. So you just put the glue all around your project or wherever you want it to touch, get it on, settle down on the plate here or whatever you're going to attach it to. I added a little bit more glue, and then you just spray where you put the glue and it activates it and it gives it an immediate bond. And you can also spray the area before you put the glued piece down, and this stuff did attach and it attached quickly. I did the same thing for the little beads. I laid one, this is a beautiful blown glass bead with little florals on it. I put it on the base of the sewing machine underneath of the actual, I don't know what that's called, but the top of the sewing machine, and kind of hold it there and then spray it with the activator. And now this stuff, it just disappears. Like, it doesn't ruin the paint or anything. I don't know if it has really high alcohol content in it, but it's very wet and you can see it on your project, but then it just disappears. So I do all 3 pieces like this and then add the little flower as well. I'm going to show you this one more time, and then moving forward, I'm just going to tell you that I used this glue for some of the steps. For the cloche on this, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to add the glue to the rim of this bowl, and then I'm going to put it on top of my plate, and then I'm just going to spray that glue to get this attached, and it works perfectly. I'm just showing you that it is attached now, and oh my gosh, you guys, look at this. I found this in my stuff, and honestly, I think this went with like a bathroom towel bar set, like maybe it's the hook. I don't know. It reminds me of those gold sets back from like the 90s, and it matched the gold on this just so perfect, and I knew this had to be the top for my cloche, so I just attach it like I did the rest, and this piece is done. I really love this piece, and I'm going to have a hard time selling this. I'm probably going to hold on to all 3 of these cloches just to look at them for a little bit and then put them in my vendor booth. Now this next one, not only are we going to use the plate, but we're going to use the cup that goes with the plate for our base for our cloche. Now this one is pretty simplistic. I really wanted one of these green roses. I got some of these roses from Temu. I saw them and I love green. You all know how much I love green. And I thought I have to have these. And when they came, I couldn't believe how gorgeous they are. So I'm going to put one in this cup. And then I just had this vision that I had gotten out some stuff and some brooches was in it. And I knew because of the style of these, a little brooch would be so beautiful with this rose in this cup. So I just kind of saw how I wanted this to work out, and what I did was I used some E6000 to attach my rose to my cup. I wasn't sure about the fabric with that spray activator, so I went ahead and did that, and I'm using a little bit of hot glue, I think, maybe not. But you could use some hot glue, but I wouldn't use it permanently. That's why I want this E6000. I know that it'll stay on there. And then I do the same thing for my little brooch. I just kind of put it in a crevice, and I put the E6000 on the back of it, put it down in that crevice, and it'll dry. Both of them will dry overnight, and they won't move. So we're going to be using that other Dollar Tree fishbowl for this one, and this beautiful vintage porcelain and white knob, and this metal piece that came off of a lamp set. I had a brass lamp set that I took apart, and I kept all the pieces, and I wanted it to be a similar gold as the gold color on the trim of the plate. So I'm using some gold Rub and Buff, of course, to just brighten that up, because it's going to go under our porcelain knob. I couldn't think. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, y'all. I know I'm always doing these voiceovers when everybody's in bed. It just works out, and I love to stay up late. I work late, and I do my best work usually after 3 p.m. in the evening. So go figure. After I get off work, that's usually when I do my best work. However, I'm fumbling over every word, so maybe that's just a delusion of mine. So what I'm going to do is add some E6000 underneath of this brass piece to attach it to the globe. Now you could just put the knob straight on top of the globe. Most cloches have a little point on the top, so that's why I'm trying to make these look more of like a cloche versus a vase or a fishbowl. So I thought this would look really good underneath of the little porcelain knob, just to give it a base. So I used the E6000 for both of these pieces, and I'm going to let that set up and dry overnight. Now I probably could have used that activator and glue, but I really wasn't sure with this really heavy knob. I'm new to using that stuff, so I wasn't sure if that would work the best. That's why I'm using the E6000, but I do use that activator to attach the globe to the plate like I did the other one. All right, this one is done as well, and because I love the teacup and the saucer to begin with, it makes me love this project even more. Now our next one is going to be a total contrast from these two. You all know I love my dark and moody style. We're going to be using this welcome. Even though this thing is really cute, I needed the base. It was the size I needed, so it's being sacrificed for this. This came from Dollar Tree. I'm basically going to take off the parts that's on it. I'm going to tear the paper off on the edges that's lifting up and do just a tad of sanding. You're not going to see this, so it doesn't matter. Once I paint it, it doesn't matter. There's going to be flaws in it because it's going to be covered mostly up, and you'll see what I mean coming up. We're going to paint this the Fusion Bayberry color. Oh, I love this color. It's green, of course. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to work on adding some little feet to this piece because we want this to be a kind of like a riser for the base of our cloche. And I'm sorry, I was a little out of frame on that. Now, these are the little feet that I picked out. These are some old cabinet knobs. They've been painted probably 5 colors. They look pretty rustic. And originally I thought I would leave them the color they are, but they stood out, and you'll see what I do with them here in a little bit. I did sand these a little bit before adding just some good old wood glue. And right in the center, I add just a teeny bit of hot glue because I'm going to smash these down and make sure that they get an immediate hold with that hot glue. All right, so the junk comes out, you guys, with this one, which you know is my favorite. I love junky things. This is the base of this is, altered. It's old feet. We're using a lamp or a light fixture shade as the cloche. So I had to grab some of my junk. I used to do a lot of junk journaling, so I have quite a few things. We're going to be pulling from that part of my stash for this piece. So I have these 2 barrels in my stash. One is from an old hobby. Oh my gosh, what is the name of that? Hobby set. Oh, I need to go to bed. Holly hobby set. And then the other one is a Tim Holtz barrel. I'm going to use one as to put some mushrooms in, and the other one I'm just using as a base for my rose. It got sacrificed as well. So I'm using E6000 to put down this barrel it's a wash barrel from a Holly hobby set. Apparently they came out with little metal, maybe it was for a Holly hobby house, I don't know, but we're going to use it, and I'm just using that E6000 to put it down. And I'm making sure, you want to make sure that your cloche is going to fit over these things that you put down. So I keep measuring, not measuring, but I keep putting it over every time I put something down before I glue it to make sure that it's going to fit. With this rose, I'm just going to use some E6000, I think, or some hot glue. Yeah, there's E6000. Y'all, I went to bed. It's morning now. Well, it's my morning. I am refreshed. Yeah, I do put a little bit of hot glue on there. And then I just kind of sit it in this barrel because it's going to kind of be a little bit of a background for what we've got going on here. Now, these are some gorgeous papers that I got off of Temu. They're like apothecary, dark, definitely the style I'm going for here. And what I want is to have a double facing. I want to make sure the back of this paper that shows through the cloche has something on it. So I'm just going to glue 2 of these together with a glue stick, and then we're going to need to cut these down. Now I do end up tearing these around to make them more of an aged look. We're going to need to add some black ink around those edges to make it look like it did, and I'm using just a black StazOn ink. I'm going to use some hot glue and attach that to the back of these barrels. We're going to add some glue to the barrel, add some moss to the barrel, put some stems on our mushrooms because I didn't come with any. We're going to use hot glue to do that, and hot glue to stick these down in the moss. So when I used to make vignettes or little boxes, I have some bottles made up from that, and I am using this bottle that I had made up. It's got a little photo of Poe in it, and then another little bottle. You'll see them coming up. I'm going to show you a little flash of what it's looking like right about here. I added a little book that says the Raven or Raven on it, a little butterfly, and some more moss just to fill in some gaps. I used that same glue and spray activator, and I've added some gorgeous antiquing gold on the base and on the feet to match what is on the cloche itself. Now we need to finish the top of this off. I'm going to use part of that lamp, brass lamp that I took apart, to use some activator and that glue to put it down, and then I'm going to add a little brass knob on the top with the same glue, and this piece is finished. You guys will have to let me know what you think about this one. Of course it's my favorite. I'm probably going to keep this one, but if I put this in my booth, I would ask about $19.95, maybe $24.95, because of the detail, the vintage piece, and then the very uniqueness of it. And of course I'm invested because I love it. So sometimes I sell things because of that, and they sell for that price. Our next project, anyone can make these. You can make these out of all kinds of things. This is just inspiration. I love sewing, and I can sew. I took a class since high school, and I've sewed on and off my whole life. I am not a professional sewer. I don't get too stressed out about measuring. You guys do whatever works for you. We're not sewing. We're just going to use hot glue, but these would be beautiful sewn. I'm starting out with this box lid. It's really, really hard, and I kept it from a gift set that I had received. I'm going to go ahead and measure right at 2 inches or 2 1/4 and 7 or 7 1/4 inch. And I'm going to cut out 4 of these. We're going to be making bookmarks. Yes, super easy to make. I figured after the cloches, the last one, you guys might need something a little quicker to make. Now that last cloche, you don't have to go to the ends of the earth for those types. I just love doing that. It's definitely part of what I love to do as an artist or as a creator. The first 2 of those cloches, they were really quick as they looked. So we're just going to mark this, and then I'm going to cut this out with a knife blade to get my bases for my bookmarks. Now I just went through some of my fabrics that I had and pieces that was just big enough for this. If they weren't, I had larger. I just cut them to about a decent size. What you need to make sure, and I'll explain here shortly, but I'm using Fabri-Tac. You can use different types of glue. You can use Mod Podge. I just had this bottle of Fabri-Tac. It's very thick, it's old, and it needs to be used. It's still fine to use, but I want to get it used up. I don't use Fabri-Tac that much. So I'm just kind of spreading it completely over the whole bookmark, using it kind of like Mod Podge to attach my fabric to. You're going to do this on both sides, leaving at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch of extra fabric around the whole bookmark. Now I just used my Mod Podge roller to kind of flatten that glue down and make sure it gets spread evenly. I wanted to chime in here and let you know that you can use Mod Podge for this. Regular white school glue, I would water it down just a tad. Because this Fabri-Tac is not cheap. To me, it's not cheap. I think it's expensive, but like I said, I need to use this up. I actually got my Mod Podge out, and I thought, oh, I need to use that Fabri-Tac that I have in that bottle up. So I'm just making sure I get this around the edges, but we're not going to worry about those too much. I'm going to show you how we're going to fix those later. Now, I'm not completing each one individually. We're going to do these as a group, so I'm going to go ahead and cover at least one more for you all, and then we'll get to the next step. So I have this scrap piece of beautiful, it reminds me of kind of like Jane Eyre, but woodland. I mean, it definitely can be used in a lot of different things, but this is going to be our little shabby one, kind of cutesy, girly. Now, you'll see here, I didn't position this one enough to leave at least 1/4 inch when I folded over my piece. When you fold that piece over, or you can, I should just cut these in strips, but when you fold it over, you need to make sure you leave 1/4 inch in between the fabric and the edge of that piece of cardboard. So I'm just repositioning this, so don't make my mistakes. Go ahead and cut out your 2 pieces. Probably, like, if I had to guess, maybe like a 6x8 piece would be perfect for this, so you have plenty enough room on each end, and then you can cut the excess off. Now, I've never made these before. I'm learning with you all on some of these projects, so if you know a better way, definitely do it, but this is just for inspiration, and this is the way that I came up with. Maybe I should have watched some tutorials before doing this one for you all. Okay, so the next two fabrics I'm going to show you, but we're not going to do the gluing on camera. This is two Tim Holtz fabrics. Oh, you guys, I love his fabrics. They are the perfect fabrics for people who love vintage and dark and moody. Now I have let these dry overnight, and now I'm just cutting them down, leaving about 1/4 of an inch around each. And I'm going to be using my hot glue gun to go around these to seal them. Now, what you want to keep in mind is you want to use the tip of your glue gun to smash the hot glue down very, very thin. You don't want a hard, thick edge of hot glue around the edges of these. And then once I get it kind of in there the way that I want it, I take my finger and rub it down even more, flattening it. Now, I do this around all 4 of these, and I'm not showing that on video, but you did get pretty much the gist of that, and we'll move on to the next step. So I'm going to use my Crocodile. I'll have that linked in the description box below. You can get these on Amazon. They pay themselves well, so many times over. They're a little bit of an investment, but they are so worth it. So I'm just going to cut through the fabric and that cardboard with this, pressing down really hard to get that hole in there, and I'm going to do this to all 4 of these. Another thing that Crocodile does is it places grommets inside of holes. So I have some grommets, again, in my stash. You don't have to go out and buy these. You definitely can just leave the holes and put a string through them. I'm going to show you how I do mine here in a little bit. But I picked out some, and I'm going to use that Crocodile to insert these. And what it does is it kind of smashes the back of that down so that it stays in place. And it's got a different part. You're going to see me take the heading of it and sticking it through that, pressing firmly to smash that down so that it'll stay in there and make a nice little trim on that hole. Once we get this finished, I'm going to be using some macrame cord. Now, I ordered this probably about 2 months ago off Amazon. They have a lot of it in a big pack, and you can definitely get your money's worth out of this. I'm using this peachy color for 2 of them and a black for the other 2. Now, I really wanted to loop these in, but the loop was just, or the hole was just too small for it, so I'm just going to have to string it through and make a knot at the top, which is fine. It looks good. I could have used a thinner cord, but I didn't want to, so I stuck with this one and just tied a double knot at the top of this. So I had so many great ideas for these, but I wanted to be limited, even though I wanted them to have a little touch of extra. I went through my buttons and found 3 buttons for each one that I'm going to put on these. Now, I thought it would be great to stamp on maybe some drop cloth or some cream colored fabric like read or book or words like that, and then glue that piece like a rectangle sideways on top of these. But I'm just going to use buttons, and I'm going to use some thread to pre-thread them. I like my buttons to look like they've been sewn on. I could have sewn these on, but I didn't want the knots on the back, so I just go ahead and tie the thread through the buttonholes, and then when I glue them down, they look like they're sewn on. Now, I love these so much, and I really want to keep a couple for myself, but I'm going to put these in my booth, I think for $4.95 a piece. Now, if I would have stitched these, I probably would have put them for more like $6.95 to $7.95 maybe, but we'll see how they do at $4.95. If not, I can lower them to around $3.95. This next project, y'all, I was freaked out when I started this, okay? I knew that it was a new experience for me, and I wanted to try it. I've been collecting up things for quite a few months, as you can see. Even pulled some things out of my booth that hadn't sold. We're going to be making candles. Yes, people love scented candles. You know they're going to sell, so go grab all those cute little dishes that you don't know what you was going to do with, but you just had to have them. Most of these were $1.99 or less. Some was even like $1.25. But we're going to use these, and we're going to make candles, and I'm going to show you how I do it the first time and tell you what not to do like I did. So I've been collecting candles from junk stores and thrift stores, and I found a few for like 50 cents and $1.25. Even these very large ones I'm getting ready to show you, that was like 50 cents, and I thought, oh, that's a ton of wax. Candles are so expensive. Well, I'm going to have to cut those down or melt them in a bigger pot than what I use today. Probably not going to be able to cut them down. You can't cut wax. Pretty much just have to melt it. So I ended up using my smaller ones because I'm using a hot plate that I bought for my studio. Now, you don't have to do that. You can use your stove. Hot plates are like, I think $12 or $13 on Amazon. And I'm using some of these oils, essential oils. I used to be a health coach, and I did a big class on them. And also my mom bought me some, and I've had these it's been a while. we're probably quite a few years. So we're going to use them to scent our candles with. I'm going to warn you, this is messy. My setup is messy, but you know, it's my first time doing it and I wanted all my stuff around me, so that's what we're doing. So I started out with this little candle because I didn't think about the type of pot I would use, and I only had this in my junk stash. I'm showing you things that I may put in the candles right there, but I couldn't use a larger pot because I didn't have one that I didn't want to worry about trying to get wax out of. I don't think you could ever get wax out of it. Anyways, we're not going to go there, but I thought, oh, I've got that little like camping one in my stash, so that's the one we're using. Hence, we're only going to be able to use small candles. So I just started out sticking it in there and letting the plate get hot. I turned it on like 2 or 3. I was a little freaked out. I'm just going to tell you, I was a little scared about this, okay? So don't be scared like I was. It's not going to burn you or hurt you unless you stick your hand down in there or unless you touch the hot plate. And the little cooker covers that whole hot plate, and the thing is amazing because I dropped wax on it, I don't know how many times, and it just wipes right off. So it's almost repellent, if that makes sense. But this thing's amazing. I'm so glad that I got this. I bought it about 6 months ago just for doing things like this in my studio, and I'm so glad I did. So I'm just going to let these candle melt, and I let mine melt on like medium temperature. You definitely can turn them up, but I was new at this and didn't want to do that. This was a new hot plate and it started smoking, and the smell was, you know, quite strong. So I just took my time, and after the first candle, there was no smell and no smoking after that. And I did mess with my candle and move it around. The heat wasn't hot enough to burn my fingers or nothing like that. Now, the next mistake I made was I didn't pre-purchase candle wicks because I thought, well, I'll just melt the candles down and use them. Well, this one ended up really short. So I don't know if it just shrank, and I do end up using that one, but I needed taller ones, and luckily I had these birthday candles from the Dollar Tree, so I just dropped them in there and melted them and used all their wicks. So that's definitely a mistake that I won't do again, or I'll just use the candles because, to be honest, I'm pretty sure this $1.25 pack of wicks is much cheaper than buying wicks on Amazon. But the ones on Amazon have that little silver thing that you can put some glue underneath to hold it. But the stick method worked perfect. You have to do this part anyway, so your wick don't fall down in there. And once you put the wax in, it pretty much stays where it's supposed to. You can adjust it as the candle is drying. I think that's the word. All right, so now our wax is melted, and I was freaked out about pouring this too, but it worked out fine. I do end up spilling some. Y'all will see that coming up. Oh my gosh. It was definitely a learning experience. I definitely enjoyed it. I can't wait to do more, especially with colors. I think that I wanted to stick to neutrals. I do have one color candle coming up. You'll see that. But I poured this almost full and just set my wax back on kind of low, and it is burning right there, that steam, but that's just because the plate's new. It stops doing that a little later on, or if you get wax on there. Oh, and I think I did get wax on there, so that was what was burning. The next thing is, I don't know that I send my candles enough. I definitely should have done a little bit of research on how much essential oils or scents you should actually put in these. You know, they smelled good, but once they dried, I didn't smell it. I've not burnt any of these, so we'll see if that was, you know, what I did was the amount that I put in was enough. And next time I'll do a little bit more research to see what the proportions should be. Next, I go ahead and burn or melt all those candles to get the wicks out of them and place them in each one of my container. And I break my sticks or cut my sticks in half to make smaller for each container for my wick to hold on to. All right, so we're going to talk about some things while this is replaying because it's a lot of the same thing, but I wanted to show you a lot of the process. This is a double one. I'm putting 2 of the wicks. I just cut them in half in this one to make a double wick candle holder. Now, the other thing that I would have done differently, I would not have crowded my workspace like I did, but once I had all this out, I kind of just went with it. Because you see I'm pouring over things, and I mean, you could definitely burn yourself if you do stuff like this, if you have too much stuff in your workspace. So I definitely would have done that. Next, one thing I noticed when my candles dried, even though I'd filled the containers up, they sunk down in the middle. And I had to go back and add more wax to them. Now, not all of them, but mostly the deep dishes. So that's something, you know, I filled them up. I only left like a 1/4 inch from the top. So unless I would have filled them all the way to the top, and I still feel like they would have sunk. I'm not sure why they do that. I'm sure there's probably some type of information out there as to why. If you know, put it in the comments below. Now this piece of pottery I'm getting ready to do, it has a cat on it and it's gorgeous, and I've had this for a while in my booth for $10.95 and no one has bought it, which is very weird. Usually cat stuff sells very well, and pottery, I never have an issue selling it. I don't know what it was about this. So we're going to turn it into a candle, and maybe someone will buy it as a gift for someone. I think that'd be cool, or I could give it as a gift because I know some cat lovers. So after this cat one, I take some dried orange slices from a bead set I actually got from Dollar Tree at Christmas and never used. I take some pine cones and some little things that came out of a bag of potpourri, and I made sure that I didn't put it anywhere near the wick so it couldn't catch fire if this is used. I see these sold, so I know they have to be somewhat fire resistant, but you know what, we'll see. Personally, I don't really leave candles lit that I'm not in the same room with, but you know, I put a little disclaimer on this tag to be, you know, monitor it because it does have extra things added to the wick wax, but I love the way this turned out. I left enough room in this so once these get down in here and dry, I'll pour some wax back over it to smooth that out, because you can't just drop this stuff down in the wax. You have to let it get solid before you start putting it in. Here it comes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did it. I didn't overfill it, but it spilled down the side because this candle was too big and it filled up my pot too much. So that's my next tip. I only needed my pot to be about halfway full to pour and to not make a mess. Not only did I do it once, but I did it twice. But you know what? This stuff cleaned up really easy. I just took a scraper and just scraped it off. And if it was too dried, I took my heat gun and heated it up and it just came right off. So it was really easy to clean up. And here are the photos. You'll have to let me know if you're going to try this. I made 12 of these with 2 or 3 white candles and that one large red candle. Now it was scented, so I love it in that pottery mug right there. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And I love that teacup, that black and gold. Oh, perfection. So let me know if this is something you're going to try, or have you done this before? These are nothing new, but they are something that you definitely could price anywhere from $3.95 all the way up to $19.95. That piece of pottery with the candle in it, I will probably put $14.95 on that, because I would have put at least $10.95 on the mug itself. This next project, oh, you guys, disaster. I should have just not even done it, but I wanted to show you all because this is something super easy to do. Lots of people have done it. There's all kinds of pinspiration. So I grabbed my stamps and I had bought these white towels. We're going to say that in quotation. So I wanted to do this project a long time ago, and I bought these over the summer, not thinking about the quality or what I was purchasing. It was just like, oh, 10 white, towels, kitchen towels for really cheap. So that's what I got. Really cheap fabric. These aren't even towels. They're I'm not sure what they're called. They're just very large. You can fold them into a tea towel, which is what I did. And I'm showing you how I'm stamping these, and I'm using these as an example. I don't know that I will put these in my booth because they're just so flimsy. If I did, I would probably only put like $3.95 on them, but you can get a lot more out of these towels for that. So I'm going to use my IOD stamps. If you don't have stamps, paint something on, iron something on, use some stencils from the Dollar Tree. There's lots of ways to make towels and sell them and make a profit. And don't forget, people love these as handmade gifts, especially when you can monogram them or put some type of saying on them, something they love. This one would be great with that word hop on it, but I was so aggravated with these towels that I just wanted to get them done and get this project moving. Again, these are for inspiration or ideas. These are not tutorials because I've got something coming up. I don't even know. I didn't even look up how to do it. I just remembered that you have to iron this after you ink it or paint it because you need to set it. So if they wash it, it won't come out. So I inked this baby right up, and then I grabbed my parchment paper, threw it on it, and I ironed over it a little bit to set it. Probably wasn't supposed to do it that quick, but I did it anyways. So it is heat set enough to not come out if someone washes it, but like I said, I'm probably not going to sell these in my booth. I'm using this beautiful, what is this called? Primitive stamp. I think it's something primitive from IOD. And I want to get these birds and some of this stuff on here. So I'm using this beautiful green Stays On ink. And I'm going to do it just the same way that we did the little bunny rabbit. This time I'm going to be more mindful of placement because I forgot to tell you I had to go back with some little floor things to go under my bunny because it was a little high. So, you know, measurement sometimes can be productive. I wish this green one would have been a little darker, but I love how the birds are sitting on there. Let me know if you might make some of these. I'm going to get me some good towels. They'll still be reasonable and I can still make a profit. Now, let's talk about Temu. Oh my gosh, some people don't like it and that's perfectly fine. You do and shop wherever you want. But I have a problem with these fabric, no, they're not fabric, canvas prints. I buy them. Most of them are $1 to $1.25. Some are $1.95. Some you can get 3 of them for $4. You guys, I sell these like crazy in my booth, and you're gonna find out at the end of this video how much of these I've been selling since I started buying them. So we're gonna put some of these in frames. We've already done some other ones in small frames. Today we're gonna be doing 8x10s because I need these for my booth. That I've already sold what I had and I need some more to take tomorrow, so we're going to do these on this video and get them done. So I pulled out a stack of my 8x10 frames and I'm going to take each photo that I want to use, or whatever you want to call it, image, and I'm going to compare it to the frame and decide which one's going to go in what frame. When I'm doing my frames, I decide if they need to be painted based on the color of their frame and if there's any damage. Sometimes I don't mind the damage because I want the frame to look antique, so I will leave it like we're going to do with this one. Now, I do love that seashell print, but it is coming out of that frame and this moth artwork is going in it. So I painted the edge of this board the same color to match the moths. I took a little bit of glue stick and attached the moth to this board, and then I put it in my frame. I wanted the glue to hold it in place while I was putting it in my frame. I used some DIY Debbie's Design Diary dark wax to go over the frame. I priced this for $19.95 and put it in my booth already. I had less than $2 in the image, and I think I paid $3 for that frame and then a little bit of my work and time. Let's talk about this seashell print, you guys. Everything is money, okay? So this is a beautiful print. It's vintage. I'm going to bag it, put a price tag of $1.95. It's probably worth more. Honestly, I could probably put like $2.95 on it. But if I get $1.95, that's almost paid for my frame. So think about that. Just because you're taking out the artwork doesn't mean you can't sell it. I do that all the time. Okay, so this is going to be slow for a few minutes. What I wanted to tell you is I take everything off the backs of my frames. I don't think I've said that. I don't leave anything. No stickers, not the brand name unless it's popular and it's going to sell because of that. All of that stuff comes off of the back. I want them plain. I want them to look like they're custom, especially if they do look custom. Some things that come from Hobby Lobby look beautiful, but I don't want that tag on there, so I take it off. The second thing is, with Temu's images, most of them are 8.5 by 11.5. They just don't have the sizing down right for frames, so I generally have to cut off some of the image or paint around something to make it blend, or sometimes I can find an artwork frame that fits these images and I'll use those. This deer is absolutely gorgeous, and I was able to cut off a little at the bottom and not really distort the image, and it's going to go in this beautiful wood frame. I don't have to do anything to. I paid $2 or $3 for the frame, and I looked it up and this was $1.57 and I bought several for that price. It's really hard to pick a favorite, but let me know which favorite is yours so far in the video. So I needed to paint a frame, and I painted this Infusion Oakum for this owl art, and then I used some of that Autumn Gold Rub and Buff on it to kind of distress it back and give it more of a textured dimensional look. Because this is not as a heavy duty as some of the other frames, I think I put $14 or $16.95 on this print and put it in my booth. It depends on the frame. If it's very large and heavy, I sold one of those photos that you guys have seen. She looked like Madonna or a queen. I put one of those in a huge frame and sold it for $36. And those prints I think are right around $1.97. I love this owl. It just looks so beautiful and gorgeous. I think it's just beautiful. There's no other words. Our last project is a crowned raven I sell a lot of Moody stuff in my booth year round. People love it. They will buy it. Not necessarily Halloween or scary, just a little on the dark side always sells for me. It is part of my aesthetic in my booth. Hopefully I'm going to add some video or at least photos at the end of this, but we'll see. The time, it's already at 40 minutes this video is. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I picked this frame. This frame was only 99 cents. And we're going to leave it gold, but we're going to add some rub and buff to it to change it to the antique gold, similar to what's in the Raven's crown. So I thought this DIY black wax was going to be the last step for this, but honestly, I just didn't like how it looked on it. It just didn't lay right with me. So I wiped this off before it dried, and I grabbed some of my Paint Couture black glaze and used it on this, and it really did the job. I love this Raven. It looks so legal. Oh my gosh, you guys. It looks so regal in its gorgeous crown. Now we are at the end of our projects. I just want to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this and gotten some inspiration for gifts, for selling, for your own home. And if you want to see more about my vendor booth, stay tuned. So I took this barn book, sort of had sketching in it, artwork apart, and I packaged 2 in a pack, and I put $2.25 on these a piece. I also packaged up some of these how to draw and sketch animal art book. People will use these for journals and projects, so they may not sell right away, but they're just extra things in my booth. The books only cost me $1. Now I'm just showing you these little books that came in with some of my postcards, and I priced some of these to take to my booth and thought I would share. These are cute little souvenirs. This is part of that whole set of postcards that I bought for $3,000, or I bought 3,000 postcards for $260. They ended up being 7 cents per item. I'm pricing these $4.95 up to I think $7.95. Now let's get on into the booth information. All right, so I'm gonna try not to make this too long, but I am going to give you major breakdowns of numbers. We're gonna do January, and I will touch on the last few months. Now, I have a vendor booth in Hickory Antique Mall, Hickory Antique and Vendor Mall, something like that. But you can sell more than antiques there. They're perfectly fine with it. I do sell antique and vintage items in my booth, but they are a small percentage of what I sell. Now I have a dark and moody style, but I also like to buy things that I know that I can make some money off of or that I can sell, and I will pop them in there. A lot of people say that my booth is more of an eclectic. I am going to have some photos of my booth in here. You'll see that, and maybe even some footage, and I'll kind of show you how I have things set up. I'm going to go ahead and pop this video footage in here. There is my little jewelry that I sell. And here are some of the new items we've made in the last few videos. I've just gotten them in my booth. I have them set up on this old shutter thing that I bought. And there I have some DIY paint. I try to set colors out that match my little vignettes that I have. I use a lot of books and a lot of scarves in my props. This is just some stuff on my shelves. I've got some pottery, some Poe, angels, little cases, little nurses, some of the projects that I've made, and suitcases. Those are my mystery bags. That's a rocking chair that I made. Here's another little vignette I got set up. There's our deer, some of the things we made in mass making, my stickers, my mannequin heads. I have jewelry on the ends of my cases when you walk into my booth. My lights were off because it was almost closing time. I have them on a timer and they go off by themselves. This is a whole pan of my booth. That is the little area that I was just showing you. I have junk on the floor. It's crowded. It definitely needs some work, but I've been working on it. I keep my books on here, and if I don't have room for art or things like those big stamps, I just stick them in those little slots. Those owls, people buy stuff out of that, even if they're not hanging on the wall. Little basket of just odd things. I was working on this area. All my rolling pins. And here's my DIY paint display. It definitely needs some work. I need some risers on it. There's my basket tree, and here is my little suitcase that holds a lot of my big ephemera. People love to dig through this. I have a camera in my booth, so I see people go in it, and I listen to what they say. I don't like spy on people all the time, but it goes off. I have a blink system in it, and people dig through this. They love it. It's like their favorite thing to do. And I made this out of an old saxophone case or something like that. I'll change out those little clips. I just added a little thing that I could add clips to on this, and I put it on a stand that I'd found, and I put some of those butterflies on it. It's really, really cute when I have it turned around. All right, there's the basket tree. I hang wall on this art and just a bunch of stuff. I always have this little thing full of different things. I don't just put, sometimes I don't put mass-made products or several of one thing in one place. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'll spread them out throughout my booth. Those are little stamps. I bought a huge lot of those for really cheap, and I've been selling these for like $2.95 a piece. Some of them are much more if they're bigger. Little old wood blocks from printing. This is my little thing that I made for my postcards and photos, maps, old Easter cards, ephemera. You can see the prices. I'm just kind of showing you a few things. I sell these. I bought a bunch of maps one time. A lot of my photos I'll price anywhere from $1.25 and up. If they are military photos, I usually start those around $2.95 all the way up to around $8 depending on what they are. Now this is my recycled paper area. I also have some flannels that are bleached and stenciled. I sell a few of these. I sold a couple for like, when I first listed them, they were like $36 a piece. Now I don't really stencil on them. I just bleach them, and I have them priced for $25. These are my little ephemera packs, and I had about 10 on here, and I think I'm down to maybe 5. I can't count that. You guys count. And those I think are priced for $2.25 up to $2.75 maybe. So I hope you enjoyed this little bit in my booth. I do work on it all the time and add things to it and try to make it look better and move things around. Sometimes I have something in the middle. Right now I don't. It just makes it more open. And it is still a work in progress, so don't judge me too harshly. Now let's get on with January of 2024. So let me give you just a tad of background about CozyJunkStudio. I wanted to film videos on YouTube, and I wanted to have a YouTube channel, so I started it. My story is similar to a lot of other YouTubers on here. I started making things and I didn't have anywhere to put them, and I didn't have anywhere to sell them. I work full time, so managing a website is very difficult for me. That's why I don't have one. I only sell in my vendor booth, and occasionally if I make something I think people will be interested in, I will offer it on an Etsy platform that I have, but I don't have anything in my Etsy shop unless it's something I decide to sell. I don't ship anything. It's not feasible for me right now with time constraints because of my full-time job. Someday I might. So let's get back to, I started my YouTube channel 1 year ago. It was a year in December. So let's get to the story of my vendor booth. All right, so the first thing we're gonna get into is I did have 2 booths. My first one started in January of 2023, and I ran it through August of 2023. It did good, it did okay. I made a profit every single month, but it was not the booth that I had wanted. I had my name on a list for Hickory, Antique, and Vendor Mall, and when I got a booth there, I started using it, and that place is a very busy place. I also wanted to let you all know it has a lot of high traffic, so that does play a part in the profits that I make. And it has been there for a long time. It's probably been there about 20 to 25 years. My original booth that I got was a place that I had tried to get into there while I was waiting on Hickory, and I wanted 2 booths at that time. The one was really close to my house. It was a smaller booth. There was not much room to hang things on the wall. It just wasn't a great fit for me. I love that place. It's awesome. I learned a lot of things, and I have some lifelong friends from having a booth there. That is at Antique Corner in Hudson, North Carolina. Now let's get on to the booth that we're going to be talking about today. So I started this booth in the second half of June of 2023, and I've had it all the way since then. From the time that I started it in June, I made a profit. Now again, it is a very busy mall, so there's definitely traffic, and that plays a part to it. So the first 2 weeks in June, I could not find June and July's papers. As a creator, you all, I am all over the place. So I found all the way back through August, and we will go over those numbers, but let's break down January of 2024. And right now it is slow in my area. December was a slow month for me. I was super disappointed. January and even February, the first 2 weeks, it was like I looked at my books and there was like $200 on them. Not much, but they did pan out in the end, so I was happy about that. Now, I go in my vendor booth at least once a week, if not sometimes twice a week, and I always change up my stuff. I don't leave stuff sitting for a long time. If I do, it's just to fill in spaces for the vignettes that I set up or for the aesthetic that I want in my booth. If those items don't sell, I just leave them in there because they have a place in there. So for me, some of the space is taken up by things that I'm okay with if they don't sell. Types of things I have in my booth: scarves, hats, baskets, the DIY paint line, recycled paper line, pottery. Occasionally I will get a side table and make that over, but usually it's only something I pay $6 or $10 for. I am a cheap person when it comes to buying stuff for my booth. I do not like to pay over $5, occasionally $10. We're just gonna put that right up front. I don't paint and flip furniture. I've never sold a furniture piece other than a small side table. I mean, I guess that could be considered furniture, but a large furniture piece I've never sold before. I sell a lot of earrings in my booth. I had bought, at a yard sale one year, I bought $75 worth of jewelry, and it was almost 200 pieces, and I knew that I could sell it somehow. This was long before I had my vendor booth, and I've been selling that in my vendor booth. I sell a lot of handmade framed art. When I say handmade, that means me printing it off or me finding a print and putting it in a better frame, painting the frame, maybe not. That's what I'm talking about, not items I've actually had to do a lot of work to. Okay, so let's get on into the numbers for January of 2024, and we will touch on some of the months up to August of 2023, but January, I'm gonna break it down for you so you can see clearly what it is. So for my booth, they charge $160. It's a 10 by 13 foot booth. They also charge a 12% fee of whatever the total is you make for the month. So whatever you gross, they take 12% of that, and then they give you a check. You pay your booth rent separately. For the month of January of 2024, my check was $824 and some change. My booth rent was $160, leaving me $664. Now these are all roundabout numbers. This is me going through ticket by ticket, looking at what I paid for something. I generally write that down in my inventory book. Sometimes I don't, and I remember what I paid for it. Sometimes it's a guess because I know what I'm going to pay for an item. So please don't hold me on these numbers. And if they don't add up to the T, I do apologize because my eyes were crossing doing this. Out of the $664, I profited $617. How is that possible, do you say? Well, we're gonna go through that. But some of the items I do get for free, and some of the items I might pay $2 for and I might charge $35, or I might have a $10 item and I'll charge $75. So that is how it is so close. I know that sounds crazy, and I went through these numbers 3 times. If you see a discrepancy, absolutely put it in the comment section below, because I did sell DIY paint and recycled papers, and DIY paint, I pay half of what it costs. So the items that I'm selling, my smalls that I'm selling, are taking over the costs of the DIY paint line. So the DIY paint line, I sold $137 in the month of January. My cost was $68, so my profit was $68. Recycled papers, I sold $84.50. My cost was $34.06. I did add shipping to each paper. I did not add shipping to the DIY paint line. I need to do that. I just didn't go back and do it. So my profit was a little less than $68 if you include shipping. My profit on the recycled papers was $50.44. There's a high profit margin for that. Mystery bags, I sold $117 in mystery bags, and my profit was $74 on mystery bags. Framed prints, these are the ones I showed you in the last video, and I showed you the larger ones in this video. I sold $81 in framed prints, and my cost was $10. Profit of $71. Ephemera, I sold 15 pieces at $41.75. My cost was $3.75. My profit was $38.75. Stickers, they were very low this month. I only sold $6.50. My cost was 36 cents. My profit was $6.25. Photos, I sold $20.45 in photos. My cost was $3.25. My profit was $17.20. I sold $7.50 in postcards, and my profit was $7.20. For the amount of photos that I bought, I paid $0.25 a piece for them. For the amount of postcards that I bought, I paid 8 cents a piece for them, and stickers are 3 cents a piece. So for the paint, DIY paint, the recycled papers, mystery bags, framed prints, ephemera, stickers, photos, and postcards, I made $268.84. Now we're going to break this down even further, and then we'll get on to just the numbers that I made for the other months, cost and profit. I'm just going to go over the biggest ticket items and some of those frame prints so you'll see why and how that I profit those. I bought a Home Cold Gold mirror set. It came with the mirror and the 2 sconces, and I found if you break that kind of thing up, it sells a lot quicker. And the mirror sold for $28.95. And I broke it down that it was $3 and something a piece for the set, giving me a profit of right around $25 off that mirror. I had a vintage painting I picked up at the Goodwill for $6. I sold it for $28.95, giving me a profit of $22.95. I sold several baskets. I sell quite a bit of baskets. I usually only pay $1 or $2 for them. Occasionally, if it's a very large basket and they've got it marked up, I'll buy that for $4, but I'll end up selling it for $25 or $30. Each of my baskets sold for $9.95 or more. I had a book, a French book from the 1800s I picked up for $1, and I sold it for $34.95 with a profit of $33.95. And this is where my profits will eat up some of the cost of goods with my DIY paint line and the recycled papers, which that's technically separate. So the profit off of that is exactly what I showed you. The cost still cost me that, even though my total in the end was covering most of that cost. The 1971 mushroom spoon, it was free, given to me out of an old house, and I sold it for $28.95. I had another vintage duck painting that I'd bought for like $6. I sold it for $18.95 with a profit of $12.95. And the rest is this list of items that I sold in the month of January. For the month of January, I sold 120 items in my booth. I'm going to show you the sheets, what they look like. They take my tags and they into their book, the book that we can look at as we go in each week or however when we're in there. So these are the pages for the month of January. Sometimes they don't, my older stickers stuck too much and they won't come off. I don't use stickers anymore. I just use little tickets, and I just put a piece of tape across this way so I can pull them off really easy. So there were several here that they just wrote down instead of took the sticker off, but they do put the item number so I know what it is. Sometimes they'll write the description. And I think that's the last page. So that was for January. The month of August, I sold 181 items. After I paid my 12%, my check was $853.47. After my booth rent of $160 was $693.47 was what my check was. I sold 101 stickers at $50.50. I sold $165 in framed art. I sold $55.25 in ephemera, postcards, and just little tickets, anything that considered ephemera. I didn't separate the black and white photos in August. I just did that for the month of January. Out of the $693.47, I rounded it out. I cleared $510. I'm going to go over just a few things from August of why I profited high as well. I had a vintage oil painting that I paid $4 for, giving me a profit of $30.95. I had a ladder that I spent $6 on, and I sold it for $28.95. Now I did paint it and put a few sunflowers on it, so there was some work involved with that. And don't forget that, this profit does not include my time. So I try not to spend a lot of time on items. You see some of the things I've shown you that I've been selling. These new mass makings are not items I've been selling in my booth. They're just new ideas. If they sell, great. If they don't, that's another thing. Will they sell quickly? Maybe. Will they sell slowly? Maybe. Generally, things do sell, but they may sit or they may not. I purchased a Marie Antoinette decoupage paper, and every time I make one of those, they sell. The decoupage paper, I think I paid around $4 for it. I bought it in a big lot that I didn't have to pay shipping on. I think I did it in a video. Yeah, I did it in a video. It's Notorious Women. It's a dark and moody Notorious Women. I kind of tell the story about Marie Antoinette and the lady with the ship. Every time I do a decoupage of that Marie Antoinette ephemera, I'll try to link it either here or in the description, at the end of the video, or in the description box below. Every time I make one of those ladies with the ship or the Marie Antoinette and put them on something, they sell every single time, and usually within days. They're about, it would just depend. You can buy different sizes on Zazzle is where I get them from. And I generally just Mod Podge mine onto something that I've bought for like $2 at a thrift store. And this one sold for $22.95, giving me a profit of $16. The Upcycled lady ship that sold at that time, I think that video was in August. She sold for $24.95 with a profit of $18. And here is the front page that they gave me of my items sold for August. And then here are the tickets. Now some of the tickets, they like here 3 stickers. Sometimes they'll put 8 stickers. You know, people will buy more than once. One time I think I sold, the most I sold to one person I think was 50 stickers. I think I have it wrote down on one of these. So this is for the month of August. And I do print out my own ticket. All right, so for the month of September, so my gross was $919.48. After my percentage, my check was $809.12. After my booth rent of $160, my leftover was $649.12 with a profit of $620. I sold 132 items. I sold $24 in stickers. I sold a lot of stickers. I sold $29 in ephemera. I sold $112 in framed prints. I sold 9 mystery bags at $100. So the mystery bags and the stickers, the mystery bags and the stickers and the ephemera pretty much paid my rent. The biggest profit I had from September, again, we're back to some items was free, some items was very cheap. So I had a table that I paid $10 for and I profited $65 off the table. I sold it for $74.95. What I did was, it was a little side table. I think I actually did a short on it. The top was about this big around, and it had a little drawer, and I painted it a fusion color in green, and I put some of the IOD insect transfers on it, and it sold within 2 days for $74.95. So that was a high profit. Yes, I had to paint it and put those things on it. I bought a train a train picture. It was like from the 1990s. I paid $6 for it. I sold it for $24.95, giving me a profit of $19. I had 2 sets of horse head bookends that I paid $5 a piece for, and I sold them both for $29.95, profiting $50. And then here is my pages for September. All those 50 cents are the stickers, and some We've went over 3 months of my totals. We will be reviewing October, November, and December, hopefully in episode number 3. Now, October was my biggest month. We will go over how shocking it was to me and how much money I made and profited in that month. If you enjoyed this content, please let me know. Now, before episode number 3 comes out, I'm gonna give you guys a break because I know that you have been working on some things from episode number 1. And episode number 3 will be out a little bit later. I just kind of wanted to follow up with episode number 2 to kind of keep the momentum going. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. Or if you have something to add or things that you sell in your vendor booth or platforms that you sell on that you want to share them in the comments below, because other subscribers or other viewers read the comments and it will help them out as well. If you take anything from this, just know that you can sell things that you make. You have things in your stash that you can be making and you can be selling and you can be profiting from. You're going to be creating anyways if you have a stockpile like I do and you're a creator. So why not create to sell to further things that you want to do in life? Maybe you just want to buy more crafting supplies. Get out there and make some things. Show people what you make. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid to make your own style and sell it. There's going to be a platform for it. Please don't think because there are a lot of people selling stuff or there's so many people on YouTube that are creating that you shouldn't do it. The last thing I'm going to say about being a creator or wanting to make stuff to make money is please don't worry. If someone doesn't like your stuff, that is okay. Not everyone's going to like everything that you make. Not everyone's going to like everything that I make. But there's going to be that person that does like it and that does want to buy it. There's going to be that person that loves your personality, they love your style, and they want to purchase things from you. If you want to start a YouTube channel, don't hesitate to start one. Just start small. You don't have to be like the one with 1 million subscribers. You can be yourself. You can have your own style. People's going to listen to you for your voice. They're going to listen to you for style. They're going to like the way you do things. You're going to be their speed, whether you're fast or you're slow. If you want to do something, do it. Yes, maybe the market's flooded with a ton of things, with a ton of YouTubers, or maybe a ton of vendors booth. That doesn't matter. Someone's going to meet you and they're going to buy your stuff because they like what you make and they're going to like your personality. There's room for everyone. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Keep your stuff made and priced, ready to sell. You can start small. A lot of antique malls or these vendor malls will have shelves. You can rent a small shelf. You can rent the end of an aisle, like a pegboard. Start small if you're scared. Just do some consignment. You can give them your items and they'll just spread them throughout their store and they'll give you a profit from them. You don't have to have a booth. Use an online platform. If you love to ship from home and you love to work from home, then use an online platform. You can sell on Etsy, you can sell on eBay, you can sell on Hickory, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace. There are lots of online places you can sell. You can sell to family and friends, co-workers. People love handmade stuff. We are in a time where people want handmade items. If you like this video, if you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up for me or hit that like little thumbs up. Leave me a comment or just an emoji. If you don't like typing emoji or anything like that, it's wonderful. Say hi. If you're new here, let me know. I love to welcome new subscribers. If you stayed to the end of this video, you are the #1 junker that I know. You have to love junk as much as I do, and I so appreciate you watching all the way to the end of this video. If you are not a subscriber and you're coming back to view my videos, go ahead and join our junk family. I have so many people that watch my videos that are not subscribers. If you subscribe, you get a notification every time I put out a new video. Thank you all for your patience on this video. It was supposed to be out sooner than it is now, but hey, we got it done. It's packed full of information and projects. Let me know what you think for sure down in the comments below. I'm super excited about episode number 3. We will still be doing some thrift flips and projects before episode number 3 comes out, so definitely look for those coming up. I actually have some already started. Thank you again, and I will see you guys soon, and I will talk to you in the comments before the next video.